Hello everybody, welcome to Medialooks video transport webinar. Today we are going to discuss the details regarding our recent email update about our transition to video transport protocol version 2.0, which we are going to roll out to all the public domain and before we actually make it to the final release and finish our transition to the latest version of the protocol, we would like to make the beta testing of all the features with our clients and get as much feedback as possible. That's why we wanted to hold this webinar today, to show you what actually changed and what you're gonna expect in the future. So for those who are not familiar with our product, let me first introduce what video transport is. Video transport is the protocol, the product which allows you to send the video from one location to another across the globe using the public internet. We can use the different sources like HDI capture or NDI, or we can also add some URLs. And we have a lot of different applications for that. And one of the coolest feature what we are rolling out today is that we are updating the protocol so that the connection is established much faster, and also we are introducing the VT gateways, our solution which will relay the connection in case if there is no direct link for any reasons between the endpoints where you are using our software. And so as a quick intro, our solution is based on two applications. The one is VT Publisher, another VT Receiver. And you just select the source at the publisher end. It can be any SDI or virtual output from, in my case, from vMix, or some of the NDI inputs at my machine. And if you will take a look at the right side here on VT Receiver, we have an option to receive the sources which we have published from the VT Publisher. For example, let me just select this source here, and as soon as I click Start Publishing, it will immediately arrive to the receiver end. So now we have free list here. So once I click on it, those of you who are already familiar with our solution know that it takes some time to make the handshake between publisher and receiver and actually start to sending the data. And as you can see now, it's much faster to establish the connection. For example, let me select the second source right now, which was already published in VT Publisher, and how fast it is right now to establish the connection. Previously, it was something between 5 to 20 seconds to establish the connection, and right now it's almost instantaneously. We have upgraded the ICE protocol we use to detect the IP addresses at both ends, and that basically allows us to make this connection happen faster now. And in addition to that, the gateway which we are using right now set as a list of the different gateways in the settings, in the global settings in VT Publisher. And right now there are a few gateways populated by our own infrastructure, and later on we're supposed to install the gateways also for our on-prem editions, so that you will have your own gateways on your own infrastructure, and it should help with a lot of different scenarios when you have a closed networks, some kind of restrictions for the connections. Some of our clients have already asked us that in some cases the software that they're already using have started to go to our the video feeds started to go through our gateways, and if for any reason during this test period right now you do not want your video to flow through our gateways, you can easily do so just by deleting the list of gateways in the global settings here, and not having any gateway in the list will essentially make it's unavailable, and so only direct links between point A and point B will work, as it basically was for VT 1.7 protocol. And by the way, regarding the numbering, some of our clients has already asked why the number of the version is still 1.9. And the reason for that is pretty simple. We already introducing the connection protocol we are going to use in Video Transfer 2.0. But the user interface is still remaining the old one. So in this transition, we made this kind of intermediate version 1.9, which already have a lot of improvement in terms of the connection protocol we use. And by the way, VT 2.0 also gonna have an option to split the traffic between a few gateways, as well as to have some kind of bonding features. This is also coming and already in place in our testing phase of VT 2.0, but the official release of a new user interface will allow you to do a lot of more in comparison to what we currently have in 1.9. So there are a lot of new features to come here. Also, during the recent time, we've been working on the updates of WebRTC component for web previews and web guests, and we already updated a lot of the client side of web pages we have, and currently working to finish all our new features on the application point, so that we merge together all the changes in web-based version as to what we have improved on the application side. So basically this is the main feature we wanted to tell you today. And another thing which is rising really often from our clients was that all of those names which we gather from the drivers of the different cards usually looks quite ugly, and sometimes it's really hard to find out what actual image you are getting at the different card inputs. In my case, I have 16 decklink inputs in total, and it's becomes a total mess here. So one of the cool features we have added is an option to go into the settings of the source and assign the custom label. So let me just put it like decklink 001, for example, and click OK. So I can rename the any source now, and as soon as I publish it, it will appear under this name at the receiver end. And if you do not want to have the location also at the receiver end, you can go into the settings and just hide the location in the channel name. And so you can make the complete title you would like to be shown like that. So you just make the custom label, and it will appear under this name at the receiver end, which makes it much easier for you to navigate if you have some HDI inputs already pre-assigned, like a program feed or a multi-viewer feed or something. You can just name it the way you would like it to be in the system. Another thing here, which actually I already showed you right now, is that by default, if we do not have any signal on the input, it will just show this no video signal. But what I have shown you here is that it actually has some image here. So the way it's possible to do it now, and it's also work at the receiver end, you will get the same picture. In the settings, there is an option to put the path to the custom image for no video signal. So I've just put it the name of the image file. And now, as soon as you have lost the video signal on the input, do not show our no signal dark screen anymore. So you can put your own logo or something here. It might be convenient for a lot of our customers. Some of the mostly asked questions about our product is regarding the audio. And it's really a complicated thing. In video industry, most of the time we are thinking about the video, but the audio guys usually struggle to resolve some of their issues, and especially a lot of questions asked regarding the mix minus. And actually it's pretty complicated questions in a lot of sense if you do not know how the audio routing is done. We already tried to help you by making it possible to have the automated mix minus for the guests, which you just have to enable in the settings, and all the guests connected to the same web guest URL will have their own personal mix minus. But probably one of the conceptions which our users do not understand is that the mix they make in the outside software, you actually have to make two audio mixes. The one is the program one, which will include everything, your playbacks, the studio sound, and the playback and the audio coming from the guests. But what you have to provide to us to be sent to the guests is it should be the separate microphone mix, which include only audio coming from the studio and do not include the audio coming from the guests, so they do not have this audio feedback to them. And one of the easiest way, for example, in vMix to make so is to use the concept of the audio buses, which is pretty straightforward to make. For example, if I have the main audio bus, which is my program feed and which is going to be on air, and in my case I have one camera, my studio camera here, and then I have one guest already open here on my notebook, and for any reason it's got disconnected. Let me just start output here. Yeah, it should reappear shortly. Okay, probably I have to select it once again. Yeah, so it's now live now. Yeah, so this is my studio camera. This is coming from my notebook as a guest. And what I have to do with the sound here is that for my master mix and for my bus A, the sound coming from the studio camera have to go to both master and bus A, but the sound which is coming from the guest have to go only to the master and do not go to the bus A here. And then when we publish the NDI source to our VT publisher, we can go into the settings for the NDI and select that for the audio channels we want bus A to go with the NDI out. So now output 4 is configured as, let it make a program feed from here, and the NDI on, and I have bus A at the output. And now the sound which I will be getting here in my publisher under vMix output 4 will contain only the audio coming from the studio, but will not include any audio coming from the guests. And that's exact settings you would like to have when you are using our automated mix minus feature. So once any guest is connected, he will hear the audio which you have created in vMix on bus A. And just to let you know, vMix is not important here. It can be done in any other software or hardware solution. It's just the way to understand that the video and the audio feed you are sending to us is this studio sound. Do not include the guests. So then you are sending this studio audio to us, and then we include all the other guests participating in the conference. We mix them in. Do not include the guest who is listening. Is not his own microphone is not included in the mix. Send back to him, and this is pretty straightforward. But for any reason, we still getting a lot of questions how to make the audio routing or audio mixing so that the mix minus feature is working. And most of the questions are basically related to this simple concept that the audio you are sending into VT Publisher do not have to include any guests. It have to include only the audio coming from the studio itself. Or it can be any other audio playbacks from a studio, like a video clips or whatever. So I guess that's it for now, what I really wanted to tell you today, and probably it's time to answer your questions. So let me open the chat window here and take a look how many questions we got so far. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Are there any plans to support network-based audio protocol from VT feed like Dante, AVB, IS50, etc.? We do have a plan to support Dante, and actually the work is already being done by our engineers to integrate Dante. The reason why we have some delay here is that all of our video transfer software is based on the video SDK that we develop ourselves to build not only our products but also the third-party software developers are using our SDK to build their own products. And right now our video SDK main developers are making this Dante integration, and it taking some time to actually test all the features, which it's have to be really broadcast grade quality before they roll it out into the final version of SDK first, and then it comes to video transport as the module, which will be also use. I already shown previously how you can add the source, the Dante source, as the external audio, and probably let me show you once again. If you go into the settings, there is an option to add the external audio here. In my case, I have a lot of line-ins from Blackmagic, but if you will run the Dante virtual sound card in WDM mode, it will also appear here in the list, and that's the way you can add any other audio source. For example, I can just add PC loop back, and one concept here is that if my original feed already had some audio in there, like my NDI feed has 2 audio channels, those external audio will be in additional channels. So if I've got 2 original, then I have 2 additional ones, so it will be channel number 3 and 4, and all 4 channels will be transmitted, the original one and the additional one. If you want to keep only this external audio, you have to type in the audio channel mask 3, 4, which will basically select channel 3 and 4 and use only those channels for transmission. And this is the way how you can add Dante audio right now. But one of the missing features so far is that on the output in VT receiver, we do not have any options right now to select the additional audio device we would like to de-embed the audio and send it to. This is something we are working on right now, and probably this feature will arrive earlier than the full-scale Dante support, but at least it will allow you to send the stereo feed to one of those audio devices available at your machine, and you will be able to use the virtual sound card in WDM mode, which is not preferable one. From the engineering point of view, it's better to use the ASIO drivers, but while we are still working on the ASIO driver integration, that's the way we can do it right now. So the next questions was regarding the Dante routing. Then we need as of having of necessity of using vMix on top of VT. Actually, it's not necessary. You can do all your audio mixing outside using the audio console. It's just a question of that you have to output the audio from our software, video and audio, then do the proper mix like you do with any other program mixing. It can be hardware mixer, and then just feed the video plus the proper audio back to us. So vMix is not something essential to use our product. The reason why I'm showing all of this on vMix is just because it's quite simple to show as a software solution, and I don't have to bring a lot of hardware gear and actually show you how to connect all the cables. How I can have 16 audio channels and route them in VT? We do not have the full-featured audio routing capability right now inside VT, apart from the audio channel mask I already shown you. For example, if you want to shuffle the embedded audio that you got on SDI, since every SDI feed can have up to 16 audio channels, and if you just want to swap channel 1 and 2 by channel 3 and 4, you can just use the channel mask in reverse. For example, let me show you, probably better select the SDI source here, and if, for example, I would like to exchange some of the audio channels, I will just type in something like 3, 4, 1, 2, then 5, 6, 7, etc. So basically it will swap the audio routing, and then on the receiver end you will get channel 3 and 4 first, and then channel 1 and 2. So this is the way you can shuffle the audio channels in our software. But in terms of the real Dante integration, we will include the option to actually route the individual audio channels, and this is something which is probably gonna be in our fully redesigned VT 2.0 user interface that will have a lot of more flexible routing capabilities, since we are going to integrate a lot of stuff together. So yeah, there are a lot of things coming. Let me go to another questions here. Looks like someone already tried to answer about in and out mix buses externally. How can you use VT mix minus if you have multiple VT servers? Yeah, the things are a little bit tricky here. The automated mix minus that we are creating is basically associated with only one instance of VT publisher and actually just one video source. We do not currently have a capability to join together different VT servers by any magic, just toggling some kind of checkbox. The way you can probably do it is to send the video feed from one source to another, and then use external audio processing to add the channels which you have received at the second server into the mix for the first one. So basically you are making the full down mix of the audio sources which originated on server 1, and just sending this mix to server 2, and then use that audio as the external audio with the video source originating on that location. Probably it's not that easy to show it straight away. Probably I will try to prepare some audio mapping for that, and maybe it's a good idea to add it into documentation, so to make it much easier for our customers. Also about 16 audio channels. Yeah, so regarding the embedding, yeah, it's totally right. You just have to embed 16 audio channels, and you can transmit all of those. Regarding the audio routing, I already shown a little bit of it. Regarding the statistics of the actual video flow, if it's going through gateway or it's going directly, if I will open source here, actually there are in the status bar here in VT 2.0 mode, at the bottom, you now see the different parameters here. The first one, which gateway 3, it means that we have connected to 3 gateways, but it doesn't mean that we are actually using it. It's just the fact that we see all of those 3 gateways and can use them. And at the continuation here, you can see that we have one client connected, and the actual connection is which is used is the ICE protocol, which is a direct connection, and it goes to this IP address, which is my internal one. So basically I have just the internal connection inside my software here. And also on the receiver side, you can also see that it's showing ICE connection here. In case if it will go through gateway, it will just show here the IP address of the gateway and show that the connection is not the direct one, but going through the gateway. Most of the time, it still should establish the direct connection, but for those of our customers who have some kind of strict firewall rules, we were struggling to make all the settings right and have the signal to flow directly from point A to point B. That's why we had to add this gateway feature. Basically, it's replicating the churn server feature, which was used for WebRTC web guests before, but it's our implementation not just to relay the UDP traffic. It's the way the gateway works is that it's actually receiving our video transport stream, and it's not decoding, but it's the way of realigning all the packets back into one stream at the gateway. So if something lost during this transmission to the gateways, we already know that we have to resend some of the packets. So the gateway knows that something was missing, so he already can ask the source, okay, can you resend some of the missing data? Or it can use the forward error correction to reconstruct the stream, and then it resends the feed down to the VT receiver. So the reason why we decided to do so is that in case if we are using the gateways, there are 2 legs in the network connection here, from VT receiver to the gateway, and then from gateway to VT receiver. And we wanted to make sure that if we already know that something is missing, it's better ask before sending the data to VT receiver. And the round trip time from gateway to our original source is shorter than through the gateway to the destination. So it's better to ask for any missing data straight away. Another thing here, since I was talking about forward error correction, we now have an option to include the amount of forward error correction data you would like to send in the video feed. So by default it's set to 5%, so we are always sending those 5% of external data, additional data, in case if some of the package was lost and we can reconstruct from the additional data the missing packets, so we don't have to ask for resending the data. And depending on the quality of the network, you can increase this setting or decrease if you want, but actually 5% is not that much to have the luxury of an option to use the lower latency settings. So let's continue with our questions. I'm not quite sure regarding the currently MADI works great. Probably is, but still in VDM mode, I guess. Are there any plan to support AV1 encode decode as codec? Yeah, not currently. At least we do not see any options to have a hardware encoder which will be fast enough for the real-time transmission. We do have a software AV1 encoder, but it's really slow so far. So probably as long as we do not have any hardware-based GPU AV1 encoder, it's not gonna happen in video transport. But we are closely monitoring the additional way we can encode the video feeds. So probably this is something that will be implemented at some point if hardware will be capable enough to encode AV1 in real time. Is it possible to interface with other SRT sources, destinations that are not publisher and receiver? It's a nice question, and there are two answers on that question. The first one is that there are a lot of more features we are going to integrate in VT gateways, and one of that feature is the integration of the other protocols. So VT gateway will actually act as a gateway between the different protocols. This is something we are still working on. So basically it will just show up in your admin panel, the web-based admin panel, which I haven't shown today yet. So this admin panel we have here, it will allow to have the gateway as a different source, as a different location here, and that will allow us to change from one protocol to another, so add additional sources. So it's a feature which is coming at some point. We do not have answer for ourselves so far regarding the pricing for those additional features of VT gateway, since these gateways will be running on our infrastructure, it will have some costs for us. So probably some of those transcoding or transmuxing features are going to have some premium pricing, and this is something which is not decided yet. But another answer to the tricky question regarding SRT that I can show you today is that for a long time that was add URL button at the bottom here in VT Publisher, and this mysterious one is actually allows you to receive the standard SRT stream inside our software. All you have to do is just type in the SRT standard SRT URL, so it will be something like SRT with a proper IP address, then the port number, and there's also an option to set the mode as caller or listener here, and you can just add this URL and it will allow you to receive the standard SRT stream into VT Publisher. And then at that point, the standard SRT becomes the part of our video transport ecosystem, and you can send this stream to another location, or if you just want to receive the SRT stream, you can add it at the publisher, then just publish it here, and at the local receiver, output it to the SDI or NDI. So yes, there is an option now to, and actually it was for some time already, but it was undocumented for a few different reasons, and now it's one of the options for receiving the standard SRT in our ecosystem and then use it inside a video transport ecosystem. Regarding the outputting from video transport to the external devices, this is not something which is currently implemented, and probably will be the part only of VT gateway. For a reason is that inside our ecosystem, to send the stream from publisher to receiver, we prefer to use our own implementation, which have much better quality in terms of stability of the link we can achieve using some proprietary implementation of forward error correction, some additional buffering, etc. And as if we will just output the SRT to the external decoder, it will be hard to find at what end the issue is, if it was already in the standard SRT stream, which we already know that it's the performance of video transport implementation outperform the standard SRT. So for that reason, to fall back to the less effective standard SRT doesn't really make sense for us right now. But as mentioned, VT Gateway will allow you to do so at some point, as well as to have access to some other streams like RTMP or something else. All audio routing looks promising, but it's on the third-party software. I'd like to see what I can do inside VT not using vMix. Probably partially answered already that you do have an option to route the audio and shuffle the audio channels. Are there any plans to run VT on Linux or Ubuntu? Not at this point. The reason for that is the ability to support all the different hardware from Blackmagic, AGA, Magevel, or Bluefish is something which is really strictly linked with our video SDK, which is Windows based. So to make all of those features available under Linux, we actually have to rewrite a lot of code natively on Linux. For that reason, we currently do not support macOS as well, and this is what is gonna be one of the applications we are going to release on macOS soon is VT Guest, which will not have such rich amount of capability in terms of accessing the external HDI devices, but probably will include NDI and web cameras, which is mostly used in case of those VT Guest applications. When do you think first public preview will be of VT 2.0? Really hard to answer here. My rough estimate probably is around May, but this is something which is really hard to predict right now, since we still have a lot of engineering things to do. And if you have some suggestions regarding what you would like to be included into the user interface or some of the features, we are really asking you to send emails to our team and let us know what you think will be really useful. And we are always basing our design of the engineering concepts based on your feedback. Check. Okay, probably I should not market the different products here. Uh, If we have 5-channel license, can I have 3 remote stations connected to our studio and 1 remote mobile connection channel? Uh, the way we license our product is based on the number of simultaneous video links. So 5 channels means that at any given point in time, you have no more than 5 video feeds going from one location to another. And we do not really count the number of those locations. So if you have like even 10 different locations running, as long as you do not send the video feed from among all of those locations more than 5 at a time, you are still covered by 5-channel license. So yes, you can run 3 remote stations and 1 remote mobile connection as well. So as long as you have only 1 video stream coming or originating from that point to another. I have no data rate for NDI. Not quite sure if it was a question. The NDI itself has the different data rate depending on the image resolution. In terms of the bit rate we are using for the encoding, there is a bit rate settings in our software, so you can define the bit rate of the codec we will use. So it's up to you to decide what bandwidth we are going to use. Looks like you've tried to answer some of the questions without me. That's really useful. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for assisting Marcus on that. What GPU NVIDIA do you recommend? The complete list of the GPUs from NVIDIA is not specified by us. The only thing I can tell you straight away that there is a limit of the number of simultaneous streams that can be encoded by the GPUs from NVIDIA, and all of the gaming GPUs are limited to 3 simultaneous encoding processes at a time. While the workstation GPUs, like NVIDIA Quadro cards, some of them have unlimited number of streams, but it's still limited in terms of the available bit rate. So if you will try to make like 10 simultaneous streams of 80 megabits per second, 800 megabits per second in total, then even the workstation grade Quadro GPU probably will not cope with it. So it's hard to answer which one is recommended for your use case. The actual number of the streams that can be used, you can go into our system requirements, and there is a link to NVIDIA's comparison guide, which shows you the amount of simultaneous sessions which can be running at the specific GPU. So if I'll select the professional Quadro cards, you can see that a lot of them are unrestricted here, so you can choose from them. Let's switch back to the questions. Is there any of your server running between point A and B, and can we have live one-on-one interview conversation like a phone call without audio delay? Yeah, we do have this one-to-one session capability. Basically, it's actually there is an option to actually run VT guest from one location to another directly, which is probably not so straightforward to make, at least it's not so easy to make this kind of direct connection between two VT guests. But if you will email to me, I will try to show you how you can make it using some custom configurations of the software. It will require some of the settings to be done, not in the user interface. Does the web admin panel have full feature parity with the native application? If not, will it? We still lagging behind in some of the features available in web admin panel in comparison to the native applications, especially for all of those new settings we have for the sources. But we are working on that to actually get it on par, so that all of those applications and web admin panel. So my ultimate goal is that everything should be possible to be done from a web admin panel, and you don't really have to go into each individual applications. And at some point, I believe we will make so. At the current stage, to fine-tune some of the sources settings, you still have to go to the native apps, but we are working on it. Any thoughts of adding REST protocol? We've been discussing internally the addition of some of those protocols into our software, and as of REST, probably it will be also the part of VT Gateway at some point, but I can't really give you the dates when it will be possible. Feature request. Please provide detailed description with the example on mouse hovers over settings, so documentation less necessary day to day. Okay, probably you mean some kind of tips right next to your mouse, then you are going from one settings to another. Yeah, probably it's a nice. We already have some of the description, but probably they are not good enough. So yeah, we will take a look at it. Is it possible to set default values for the newly published web guest links? For example, we heavily use VT for sending multiviewers to remote producers. Each time the new multiviewer is published, we need to override the defaults. Okay, I got it. Yeah, Michael, there is an option to actually change these default settings. One of the ways you can do it right now is to go into DLL folder, and there is a file which is called local config XML, and there is an option to change the default settings in there so that every new source will be added with those default settings. And if you will not be able to do it yourself, drop me an email and I will be glad to help you with that. How will be the setup in closed network using VT publisher and VT receiver without internet connectivity? I mean, is there any possibility to avoid using Medialooks server for established connection? There is no way to avoid using of our servers at all, but what you can do is that you can get our on-prem edition of our software and have this Medialooks server running inside your closed network. You can contact our sales team to know the details regarding the pricing. It depends on the number of channels you would like to use inside your closed network. So yes, it's possible, but you have to install our signaling server inside your closed network. We have used VT over 4-mile macrowave link via air fiber 24. Too much packet lost for raw NDI, essentially a LAN, and it's worked well. I believe internet is required for license. Do not know about the license validation, but yeah. So yeah, the internet is required to license validation, but the connection itself can go through your air fiber, which is actually quite cool to know that someone. Actually, we do know about some of the users who have been using VT over the satellite internet links. So even this those kind of solutions when you do have a really long round trip and probably not as stable as the ground network connection, it still works. So yeah, your solution with the air fiber is also interesting. Does WebGuest provide NDI feed for each person with only their specific audio? Understanding that we can control each guest audio to broadcast, is there or are there plans for the web guest control panel to mute, unmute guests? I take it right now, and we'll. Oh yeah. So I got the question what it was about. So yeah. As of the individual audio, you already have all of those individual outputs inside our software, so you can mix your own audio. But I guess the main question here is regarding the mix minus feature, and that as long as the microphone of specific guest is turned on, it's basically heard by everybody, no matter if you are mixing the guest in or not. So yeah, one of the additional features we are going to have in one of the future releases of our web admin panel is the ability to see all the guests participating in the group on one screen and have an option to mute and unmute their microphones at one easy page. So right now, to control the mute of the web guest, you have to go to the specific web guest, for example, the one which is running on my notebook right now, and you can go into web guest settings and then mute the microphone. I have already muted it for my notebook, so I do not have any feedback here. So yeah, it's one of the options, and I can also do the same for the camera, just to switch off the camera. So and it's not so convenient to go through all the different guests you have and then mute unmute microphones. So that's the reason why we would like to have the way of layout of all the guests in one web page, so you can control everything. Yeah, basically it will look similar to neural net to some extent. So and probably with some kind of additional audio routing features as well. Thanks, Mark, for your feedback. Yes, we are trying to make our products as good as possible, and most of our additional features we have been adding through the last years is based on the feedback we are getting from you. So let us know if there is anything else we can add. Yeah, and I'm also waiting for the macOS version, which I would prefer to have myself, especially to run on those fancy M1 chip, which is becoming a great hit now. Does it provide higher quality video compared to vMix call? Yes, it does, for the number of reasons. In vMix, it's hard to control the actual bit rate and the resolution of the feed, while in our WebGuest settings, you can select the resolution coming from the camera, as well as the bit rate, the video codec used, and the audio bit rate. So all of those things are available for you to control. In this terms, we do outperform the video quality comparing to vMix, and probably at the point when we will add the a little bit more features for the actual video conferencing, we will outperform the vMix in this case. So stay tuned. We are going to add a lot of more features for this WebGuest applications. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah, this is basically what I have described right now regarding more control over WebRTC. So meaning, does adding this to vMix workflow will add more benefit in quality, latency? Yes, it will. So if you will just use our software for the video transmission to web guests and then output as NDI to vMix, it will also work better in terms of the video and audio quality. Is it possible to set up caller slash listener mode within VT? For example, we have had a few times where we can't connect in the corporate network. However, we can do so with regular SRT using caller or listener. Yeah, let me show you a little bit more regarding some of those fine-tuning. So if you will go into the settings for the specific VT publisher source, there is an option to put a publisher port which you can set to any number here, like 600 for example, 10,000, sorry, and then on the receiver end you can also specify some specific port here, let it be like 11,000 for example. So those will be the port numbers used for UDP traffic, 11,000 for the inbound traffic for VT receiver, and 10,000 for inbound traffic to VT publisher. And basically the way it works is that once you put the ports in here, VT publisher becomes a listener for the SRT streams, and VT receivers becomes the caller. So it's no longer using our rendezvous mode in here. So now it's the connection is originated from VT receiver to VT publisher, and the ports used on the publisher side, which you have to use in your firewall settings, is the one which you have set in the publisher settings here, and on the receiver side it's the one which you have set at the receiver port here. So this way allows you to actually set the predefined port numbers. The only drawbacks here is that basically for each individual video stream or source you will have to type in those port numbers, which kind of not the best solution or not the best way of using VT, since we are trying to make everything as automated as possible. But if for any reason in your network setup something is not working out in automated way, this is the way you can define specific ports for each individual stream. Can VT publisher receive RTP stream and publish? Yes, it's using the add URL option is quite powerful in these terms. So there are a number of different URL formats we can use, and the exact syntax of all the different streams you can add is covered in our documentation for the video SDK, which I can't really cover during this webinar, since the video SDK is a little bit bigger story than the full VT product. But yes, it's potentially possible to receive different types of streams, not only SRT as I shown you today. Yeah, so basically the studio in this case, I believe VT publisher will be at your studio and will be in the listener mode here. And basically it doesn't really matter if it's listener or caller. It's the UDP traffic is actually going both ways. So the only thing you have to do is to open specific port at your studio end, depending on the port number that you have selected, and probably you will only need to open it on the studio end. Do not have to worry much about the other end. So it doesn't really matter if it's listener or caller, just because the way the SRT UDP traffic works, it always have to go in both directions. The only thing that matters here is that both of the sides have to agree who is going to be listener and who is going to be the caller, and it doesn't really depend on the fact that the listener is actively listening, but it's not limiting you in any way which side is actual listener. pre-support in the future. I already answered. At some point, it probably will be added into VT gateway list of the available protocols. Thanks, Dan. And actually, looks like this was the as far as I remember, there was no other webinar which lasted more than 1 hour. So looks like this was the longest one. So if there are no more questions, we will wrap up this webinar session for today. And looking forward for your feedback. Yeah, Michael, I will answer. Looking forward for your feedback to our beta release. And let us know about all the new features you would like to have in the future releases. What is virtual output in receiver? The virtual output in receiver here, I have plenty of different outputs, and one of which is virtual. Basically, the way it works is that once you output to the virtual, it appears as the camera. Like, let me go into vMix again, and under the cameras here, if I will use the probably it have to be in the legacy mode. Yeah, show legacy devices, and now you should see one of those. Yeah, this is the one. So basically what we are doing is they are emulating the web camera as a video source, and this is what we call virtual. So this is the way you can add the video from our software into any other software solution which is using the webcam, like Skype, Zoom, whatever. So yeah, to any other software basically. Okay. If there are no more questions, let's wrap up this session for today. And thanks for joining us today. And we are looking forward to hear your feedback and see you next time. Yeah, bye-bye everybody, and have a great evening or morning, depending on where you are right now.